Hello everybody, it's the Doctor here with Typical Manga Fan, and this episode of the Typical Manga Review is dedicated to Bleach, chapter actually it's going to be two chapters of Bleach, chapter 682, two-sided the two-sided world end, and 683, the dark side of two world ends.
Is Kubo trying to switch, trying to mess with the English language as much as possible or something? Because he's
It sounds
basically.
like it's like his approach to characters, like just add more words.
I think is he trying like a pun? Because I can't really tell. It's like he's trying to every
I mean,
combination
he
of
does
it.
these words in English, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's like remember this is also to a Japanese audience, so maybe is he trying to like. I don't know what he's trying to do.
I mean,
I know one of the reviewers was saying like I think like, actually said he's probably going to try every combination of these boards, and it
I
seems like
wonder
he's,
if he's going to end up creating a sentence before it's done.
is it the dark to dark maybe
Like,
because he's adding words, right? That's what he's doing.
yeah.
Um,
Anyway, if you want to go and open up here, we pretty much open up in Soul Society with Uok just portaling in. Like, you're a sight for sore eyes, he says while all of his eyes are covered. Like, who'd have ever managed to cross paths here in Soul Society? And look who it is.
Sosuke Aizen is still sitting on his chair, and it's kind of cool because it's like he's sitting on a throne. You know, not really,
Yeah.
but he kind of, and he says, you know, I'd like to welcome you to my soul society.
And Uok just grins like a motherfo, like a mofo.
Well, I was a little confused because why would he go back to soul society? Like, is it to eliminate Aizen? Because that's what it seems to be, right? Because we thought, pretty much everyone thought that he was going to go to the real world, and he's already been in soul society, so it's kind of weird that he would go up and go down and just. This is the what? How many times has he done this? He invaded Soul Society once by like himself, then he went back, then he invaded again, then he went up to the Soul Palace, and then he went down. Dude,
Up
just
and down, up and down. It's like an episode of Sesame Street.
I just and that's not. I don't know. This is so funny at this point. You know, it's just like okay. Also, I'm assuming he's just being like coy because he's like I didn't expect to see you here. He's like, well, I thought you came here for him. Plus, you can see the future, so I wouldn't. Just the language. Sometimes the dialogue is kind of like you. It's like you feel that they're just mocking the other person, but
Yep.
at the same time, just kind of like, wait a second. What do you mean you didn't expect to see him? Didn't you come here just so you could see him? And also, can't you see the future? So you would have seen this anyway.
Yep.
But anyway, so you are all smiling and shit, and then we go back to Uryu, and who's running up the Varvelt, and suddenly someone shoots an arrow at near him, and then it turns out that it's his dad, right? With Ishin right behind him. You know,
Yep.
Ryukin and Ishin,
Okay.
who are always together. So it's interesting. But
Yeah. Well, they have to be crossed off the checklist somehow.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're always together because they, you know, their relationship and all. But so Uryu is really surprised, and he's like, "I simply came to deliver that arrowhead. Take it with you." And then
It's not like I care about you or anything.
you also notice that he says Ryukin, not father. Just more fun.
Well, he's never. That's kind of
I know.
him.
Yeah, but just note that because he's, you know, it's disrespect. Like he doesn't care for his dad, respect his dad. I wonder if that's going to change at the end of the manga. But
Well, if nothing else, he's realizing just what the deal is with the big traumatic memory of his.
yeah, to be fair, he didn't really know what the hell's going on.
Well, that's what I mean. Now he does.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it might change.
Yeah, but don't assume. But what I'm saying is, don't assume shit. Remember that.
Mhm.
You know. But anyway, so the arrow turns into a steel, like a steel or a silver arrowhead, basically. And it says like, you know, he used. He took that from a silver blood clock from Uryu's mother, which is something that apparently is created in every Quincy's heart during Oswalin. You know, when they get their power stolen.
Yeah.
And to that I say, what are you talking about? People have been like incinerated by the Oswalin. Like it's like.
I mean, he could be
I like
referring.
how he says that.
He could be referring specifically to the first level Oswald, the one that took out the non-pure-blooded Quincy.
I know, it's just really funny that he says that because it's sort of like I don't know. Well, I mean, even then though, like the Oswalin has had different effects even with the same at the same time. Keep in mind, like remember when the second time they used it, right? You had the guy, Mr. Letter N, get like turned into a skeleton and then just like evaporated.
And the same thing
Right.
happened here
But
with
then you have
Gigantor.
Yeah, and then you see, but then there was people who like got out of the way or who survived and only got their Volständig stolen. You know, so it's sort of like okay, these because they jumped out of the way, because with the Stern Rider N, it like was instantaneous. He just got turned into like a skeleton like that quickly. You know,
Yep.
and then then you have the third one where it's the exact same one. Well, not the exact same, but like he's using it for himself, but it's the same one for both Gerard and for Hashwell.
Right.
But only Gerard turned into a skeleton. Hashwell just laid there and bleeding and shit. But it's like dying, yeah. But it's just like it's not consistent. Even if you were to control for the fact that maybe it's a different Oshval, maybe the Quincy did something different. Both Gerard and Hashwell just stood there and took the whole thing. Yet both of them had different effects on them. And so maybe it's because Gerard's the heart of the Soul King. So maybe Yubok decided to take more of him or something. And why did Ichigo, was it technically House Fallen? It's just really weird and inconsistent. Anyway, so this is basically he took it from his mom, and this is like you are the one to shoot. They should shoot this arrow to avenge the mom. Blah blah blah. And he takes the arrowhead, and then we go back to Ichigo and Renji.
Yep.
And before we get that, I want to say one thing is that's it.
That's pretty much all they were there for.
But Ryukin has he was the one who criticized Uryu for being a weakling and said, you're not the last Quincy, I'm the last Quincy, And so a guy who had this much connection to the Quincy's is just there for like 10 seconds to say, hey Uryu, do your thing. Like I feel that at least Ryukin's role, but also Ishin, should be a lot bigger than just, hey, here you go, and it just be like you said, it's like a checklist,
Yeah.
And this is what other people say too.
I mean,
it's like,
why is Ishin even there at this point? I mean, it's not like he was instrumental to getting into this realm at all. Was not if Ryukin used the thing from his father.
I mean, this is such an effect of it would have even changed if this was not rushed, because we all know that Ku was rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Would have actually changed, like if he wasn't rushing, would he still had this thing happen, like them just being there and being like, hey, because I feel like they, not only in terms of abilities, but in terms of character, they have so much more investment into this arc because of their past, that them just saying, hey, sons, avenge your mom's death,
Yeah.
because that's basically what it is at this point.
Yep.
So we go back. Speaking of sons, we go back to the other son, Ichigo.
Leroy Jenkins. Basically, just charging in, all busted up, not even caring about strategy.
And well, I mean, I think the idea is that there's no point in planning because he's so overpowered at this point. There's no real point to it, but they still have to go because that's their duty.
Yeah, but Ichigo not even remotely recovered.
He's not, and I predicted. I asked that question. I kind of predicted why, and it turns out I was right. It's later said, but it's because he didn't want to spend the time to get healed up. Although to be fair, I think the time that you spend to get healed is very crucial, because you can get there on time, but you'd be killed in like a second, or you can heal up, and again, he's so overpowered that maybe it might not make a difference, but give yourself a better fighting chance. Turn that 0% in like 0.1 to a 0.2. I'd take
Band-Aid
that
or two, something.
Yeah, so it's just kind of annoying, and I'll tell you another thing that annoyed me later on when they'll point it out, where Ichigo can barely stand. He's like, hey Renji, you sure you should have come with me? With those runes, both you and Rukia would have been better off staying with Inoue. I think this is a mistranslation, because I think the Viz said it differently.
Let me pull it up. Like I said, nice thing about doing this is a kind of a week after thing, because I've actually got the Viz version in front of me.
Yeah, what does he say on the left panel?
One moment. Oh, wrong. That's
about him and Rukia.
Oh, that was the right one. Hang on, gotta get to the right one here. You go, Bleach. Sorry for being quiet. Here we go. Yeah, Renji, you sure? Huh? About what? With your wounds, you could have stayed with Inoue like Rukia did.
Okay, yeah, that's a translation then. A mistranslation, because Rukia decided to stay behind with Inoue, with Orihime. That is such a. Okay.
You know what this made me think of? There are 3 instances in video games, like I can think of where this sort of thing happens, and only one of them was ever justifiable.
See, that's such a stupid excuse to not bring Rukia along, because Orihime can heal herself for first off, okay? But another thing is that if they're afraid that Tsukishima and Ginjo might do something to her, there's a way you can. There's so many ways you can ride around that. Byakuya and Tsutagaya are right there.
Yeah.
They could have easily caught up and be like, okay, Rukia, you go along. Well, in fact, Byakuya even said, you and Renji should go along. I'll take care of things from here. So now that Gerard's dead, Byakuya can be like, okay, I'll take care of Orihime. Rukia and you should go, because remember, it looked as if Rukia and Renji was supposed to go together, and now we're just going down to Renji. And it's really annoying that both the girls of this group are left behind. One of them, okay, fine, Orihime, but Rukia, really?
She wasn't even. Neither of them were really all that banged up. I mean, you talk about Renji's injuries; he's not all that much hurt compared to everybody else.
I mean, Renji is stronger than Rukia, but at the same time, we need all the help we can get, and I think it's more. It's more. I don't know what the word poetic, but it makes more. It makes things come to full circle if you end with the final battle with both Ichigo and Rukia together again. Because I swear to God, they've been separated for so long, and they were the two original leads. It would make so much more sense if those two could fight together alongside each other one last time. And so it's really annoying. And again, this is such a trend towards the woman of Bleach. I mean, I would. Anyone would know that I would never go into this topic unless I have justification. And I think this is justification, where if you look at the way the females have been treated in Bleach, they've been cast aside so many damn times.
I know, like
it's not just one or two; it's like all of them.
No, a slight digression. You want to know my immediate thought when I read this part? I said there are like 3 instances of video games, though the third one kind of took me a while to remember. But the first two I thought of both come from one of my favorite games, Final Fantasy IV. You notice there are 2 instances in the game where you have a party of 5, 3 guys and 2 girls, and the 2 female characters are actually taken out of the party for a portion of the game, for a particular scene. The first time is actually justified because they're your only white magic casters, and they're pretty much you're about to defend the castle, and they're pretty much sent to be with the medics because they're your only white magic users. So that's actually justified.
Why are both females the medics?
Well,
that's also another thing I noticed.
In this case, that changes because one of the characters leaves the party, comes back later as a pure black magic user.
Okay, because I'm reminded of Naruto when they did that. And it's like a lot of the girls often the medics. I'm just like that's kind of.
In this case, like long story short, one character starts out as a kid who learns both white and black magic at low level, but then she's in a place that's like hyperbolic time chamber type place. She comes back as a pure black magic user and summoner.
That's fine.
Yeah. But the second time second time near the end of the game, you're about to go to the final dungeon. They tell the girls to stay behind, and this time the girls have none of it. They just come aboard anyway.
Cool, that's great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Ruki and Orihime can still catch up, and help towards the end. Maybe, who knows? Chad's useless at this point. Like we'll just leave it at that. But it's just a shame because Rukia and Renji were actually, if you think about it, not that different from each other. I mean, yeah, Renji is stronger, but in terms of how much damage they've gotten, how many battles they've been through, not many. And they've only shown their new Bankai once at this point. It's just sort of like, well, they're in the same type of they're not exactly the same in terms of power, but they're in the same type of boat, and they're on the same boat. So it's just really annoying that he sticks with Renji. And I guess, there's there might be a reason to that, because later in this chapter he says, like, Renji's first trying to get Ichigo to get up, and he smacks him a bit, and he explains to Ichigo the reason why he's supporting him, and which is that, look, for a long time, Rukia and I have been growing distant from each other. We would only see each other occasionally, but that's basically it. But not only did you save her, but you closed the distance between us, and you basically got us back to how we used to be as friends, and possibly more. Who knows? And that was you, and that that is why I made this resolve to always support you no matter what. And so I'll always have your back, basically.
Yeah. Real quick, just another quick little mini digression here. One of the posts that struck me around the time this chapter came out, from one of the forums I follow, was like they jokingly called it as, Ichigo, thank you for getting me back into the friend zone with Rukia, who still seems way more into you than me.
Well, actually, I actually think that this panel actually shifting. If you guys are if anyone here is into shipping, I think this actually makes it into the Rukia Renji ship than it actually into. If anything, because a lot of reviewers actually mentioned that they said, like, if you were to take a ship out of this, it would actually be that Rukia and Renji are now more not completely confirmed, but more likely than ever before.
Yeah, that's true. Just because, like, there's always been kind of a thing with them that Ichigo and Rukia were not actually a couple, like with Kubo.
It's they're war buddies. That's
Yeah.
like the best way I can say it. They have the best platonic. They're very close. They have very good. But I think they have the best platonic relationship of
Yeah.
all of them. I think that but at the end of the day, I think that's all that there is. She's like a sister to Ichigo, and also both the voice actors think that it makes more sense to go with Orihime. Just
Yeah.
point out there.
In any case, and on the next from there, we move on to our next scene.
Well, actually,
Wait,
I want to say one last thing. Would you think this would have been better if Rukia said this instead of Renji?
I think either of them could justifiably have been in this section. I think Rukia has actually already done it once.
Okay.
Like right after, I think it was like right after Soul Society. She makes Ichigo fight a Hollow, like to kind of like, because he's in kind of a slump after getting back from that.
Yeah. I want to make it clear that I actually like this, like the fact that this is character development here,
Yeah.
but I like it. But I just think to myself, I feel like it'd be a lot more, because Renji's been shafted aside so many times, but I feel like Rukia's had more of a connection to Ichigo, so I feel like maybe it might have been stronger if Rukia was the one who said it.
But maybe it's actually because he has the weaker connection that it's stronger here.
Possibly, but I'm thinking to myself, maybe this is why he didn't want them together, because it'd be hella awkward if they were both here and he said that, or one of them said that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, but at the same time though, I still don't think that justifies leaving Rukia out for the final battle. Like she needs to be here. Like she still has gas in the tank. Like she can still contribute to this fight. So it's really annoying to me, in both power in terms of like what she can actually do, and in character that she's not part of this. I feel like she needs to be there for full closure, to this manga. Start out with end with what you started out with, and help bring Chad along too, whatever at least have him be there for support, But with Rukia and Renji, they're so much more powerful now that I think that there needs to be more opportunities for them to show what they've got, especially since both of them have only had one fight so far. Well, I mean, they've been in more, but the other fights have kind of been not really that important,
Yeah.
So we go to the next chapter. Oh, what page?
Next scene, and here we witness the tragic demise of one of the most beloved characters in this series.
Chair-sama. Chair-sama has been destroyed by Yuabok, and that has actually freed Aizen. And now and then they have a bit of a banter where Aizen makes fun of. Well, this is weird because he basically says that, oh, it looks like Ichigo gave you a lot more trouble than you expected, which is sort of like, no, he didn't. Ichigo did nothing.
As like, and Yawak's like, stop projecting your own anguish onto me. You're the one who's beaten by him.
Yeah, and that's come back. It looks like Aizen got burned there. So Aizen gets pissed. You can tell he's kind of annoyed now. And so he's like, well, thanks for getting me out of that chair, and now I can actually stop you. And you was like, why? This makes you wouldn't.
What's in it for you?
Yeah, and he says, well, what's in it for me is that I don't like the fact that I don't like anyone who tries to control me, rule over and control me, basically. And so right when that happened, right when he says that Ichigo and Renji try to attack from above behind, it's kind of like I think the way Ichigo tried to attack Aizen back in the Fake Hero Hoton arc. I don't remember the exact angle, but I think it's something like that. And keep in mind that he has eyes in the back of his head, literally,
and on his back, and on the back of his
back. On the back, yeah. On the back itself, yeah. So that didn't work.
Nope.
Not like anyone here is shocked. And so it turns out that he actually predicted that Ichigo would get his sword back, and he's kind of broken it once again.
Damn it, Ichigo!
Actually, I'll say this later. But so, and then he says, actually, I planned to destroy it right now, just now, but it turns out that you got some persistent good fortune on your side.
Yeah. The Viz version here is like, I thought I broke it clean. How damn fortunate, Ichigo.
Well, this is where the chapter gets really weird, because okay, so I think I actually said this in the plot points video, not the review, because I was kind of already thinking ahead of what I wanted to say. But I remember asking myself two things. One, wouldn't Yuabak have seen this coming, and like the fact that Ichigo repaired his sword, and two, what stops Yuha from doing it again? That has been answered. Those two questions have been answered in this chapter. But another thing that's
Absolutely
you know,
nothing.
absolutely not. So it feels kind of pointless if you think
Yep.
about it.
And then that brings us into the next chapter.
Well, actually, I want to say one thing though is that 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 last breaking, like he thought he could break Ichigo's soul completely, yet it wasn't broken.
Mhm.
Doesn't that show there's a little bit of a hole in his abilities?
Some, some on that.
Like,
There might be something he can't. Like, maybe it's hard to say just what allowed for that. Like, just why it didn't break completely. I mean, maybe it has something to do with Tsukishima's tampering,
yeah,
or
yeah.
like you said, there is actually a hole in there somewhere.
And but my question is, another question is like he doesn't seem to be very surprised. Like, isn't like holy shit, you know? Because if this is supposed to be an omniscient type of thing, like no one's able to beat it. There's something that just like you know the weakness right there. Like you couldn't do exactly what you predicted. Doesn't that worry you? But anyway, actually, another thing is I'll say that there is a weakness, and that's the Soul King's like limbs. He couldn't predict Mimi Hagi, whatever it's called, coming up. So if anything, when you have a Soul King, uh, there is actually an opening for him to be like not be able to predict it. You know, so that's another way to beat him, I think. And we still have 2 legs unaccounted for.
Hmm.
So we go to
Well, maybe that's why Ichigo's so determined to kick his ass.
So we go to Bleach chapter 683, where you have the fight still continue on.
Yep.
Um,
And
and
you all kind of answered a question about why Orihime is not there. It's like why didn't you let Orihime heal your wound before he's coming here? Like, is it because she herself is almost dead, or you just think you wouldn't make it in time if you waited to be healed, like you said earlier? I mean, I thought I made it pretty clear that even if you chased me down, you wouldn't be able to change a single damn thing. All right.
all right, so I'm just gonna get through this. Renji goes Bankai, tries to attack Yuha. He gets his arm like cut off.
Yep.
Yuha gloats a lot more, and he tries to attack Renji. Aizen actually comes in and blocks Yuha's attack. And slashes him, or you know, or he might have slashed him before he could have attacked, one of those things.
He got in the way either. In any case.
Yeah, he got in the way. And then Yuo was like, "Whoa, now I see it all." You know, well, of course you've seen it all. You have the ability to see the future. Come on.
Well, it's like now I've seen everything.
I'm just being coy with it. I'm just being a smartass with him. So he's like, "Oh, you're uniting before a common enemy. You know, that's basically a loser's mentality." So he's mocking Aizen again, and Aizen just responds with a Hado 99 Goryu Tenmetsu, which is the highest level Hado we've seen so far, and I think this is the first time he's used it, because he's always used Hado 90 Black Coffin, and this one is translated to 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction.
Yep.
He summons a giant dragon basically, and then he attacks, but then he's like, your Kyokaku has already been broken, and first off, wow, I didn't know he got a sword back, because last time we checked, it shattered. You know, back in the Ichigo fight, and we didn't see him have it since. We did know that his powers were still effective, because he was able to distort Yua's perception of time back when they were talking. But there's the actual sword, so I guess he has reformed it.
Yeah.
But it has broken.
Is it possible to just have him reform his sword by real raw power? But okay.
Well, I don't know, because it was destroyed by the Hogyoku, which is kind of a weird situation to begin with.
Anyway.
So then he stabs Aizen.
Yeah.
He stabs Aizen with his hand, and or at least something like that.
That's like a powerful attack, but
it's something. He does something to Aizen, and he just throws Aizen away.
I'm blasting off again.
And then he's basically, I've seen that as well, and it turns out that Ichigo was trying to attack him from behind, I think. There's a lot of behind attacking stuff, which makes sense, but just, you think of yourself, how many times has this not worked, you know? But so he chops Ichigo's hands off. This is hand heaven here, you know? Everyone's just getting arm hell. It's just then he stops Ichigo's Tensuzan Getsu and breaks it completely, basically. And he basically overanalyzes everything. It's not really important, and he just basically gloats more as he breaks it. And then he stabs Ichigo through he doesn't stab. He does an energy blast basically. So I think that's what he did with Aizen too. Like he energy blasted Aizen before, but as it turns out, as Yuabok gloats even more. This guy glows so damn much, man.
So much smug in this chapter.
I mean, it really is. So as everything was being destroyed, it turns out that the person who he thought was Ichigo and he has put his hand into was actually Aizen all along. and that Aizen just is like, so you think you're looking at Ichigo?
Hmm.
Fascinating. And then U-Box actually looks, well, I can't tell from how he looks because his eyes are covered, but then Ichigo stabs him from the back. Oh, one that actually works now. Awesome.
Yep.
And does a Getsuga show, blasting a shitload of Yua into blasting a lot of the energy into
Yep.
Yua.
Question is,
Okay.
how will he survive this?
Well, he'll survive. That's the.
Well, I wasn't doubting that. I'm just wondering, like, how will he justify it?
Well, keep in mind that even without Yua's almighty technique, he's still powerful in his own right. He hasn't needed it until like just
Speaking of which, I think this does confirm that there are ways to trick or
Well, yeah.
balls in there because Aizen just illusioned him.
Well, yeah. So I mean, first off, he hasn't used it since he didn't use his abilities until the Ichibei fight. So that shows that he's still capable, obviously, of being able to fight fight everyone, even without his almighty power. So now regarding the almighty power, the weakness, right? So I mentioned that Tsukishima was able to kind of do something to it that made it not shatter again, the first time at least.
Yep.
Then there's the fact that the Soul King's right hand was able to cut to not to be able to evade the eyes of the Almighty.
Mhm.
Although you can argue that back then, Yuo's Almighty wasn't as powerful as it now because he didn't have the Soul King in him.
And he hadn't opened his eyes yet like he did with Hachibei.
Well, yeah. Now, it's actually an interesting way of looking at the way Aizen's abilities work. Is we knew that Aizen still had his abilities, right?
Mhm.
Because we just didn't know to what extent. So if you think about it, it actually kind of does make sense because Aizen's abilities affects the eyes. What is Yua all about? Eyes, right?
Yep.
So I always thought, I wasn't sure if that counted because Yuha's abilities are kind of beyond the physical. It's like metaphysical. So Aizen can affect the five senses, right? The five senses, right? Especially once you've seen his Shikai. So I was thinking to myself, like, can he actually affect like omniscience? Can he affect Yuha's next level ability? Because that's a little beyond what we can.
Here's a question for you: can he affect it because at some point in the past or the future he has seen Aizen's bunk?
Well, we know he has because remember the time was distorted for Yua. So whatever happened, Aizen was able to affect Yuha's perception, even to a little extent. Yeah, but that actually does bring a good question. When the hell did Yua actually see Aizen's Shikai? Because that's the requirement to actually being able to use it. So, yeah, but we didn't know that he was under the effect, so it's not really surprising he's under the effect now. Okay, so the eyes thing, yeah. So I'm assuming that he's actually taking advantage of the fact that it's like one of those situations where you're meeting your match, like so Aizen's abilities, take advantage of the eyes.
Yep.
And then uses that to influence the rest of your five senses. So I think because Yuha Bach is all about seeing, that he's actually now seeing illusions, and that Aizen can create. And this is actually the game changer because now that Aizen can do that, this completely nullifies, I think, the ability to predict the future. Because now Aizen can just keep like the butterfly effect. With anything that Aizen does with his illusions, can completely change the future, making the whole entire thing pointless now.
Yeah.
He might still be able to attack from the future, which is what but in terms of being able to predict the future, he can't do that.
Right, because he no longer has a way of reliably knowing that the future he sees is correct.
Yeah, I really hope that next chapter's not like, oh, I predicted that too. That'd be so stupid. But from the reaction that we've seen and the fact he kept talking to Ichigo, Aizen as if he was Ichigo, shows you that he didn't know.
Yep.
Well, first off, Aizen. Okay, so when I was reading this chapter, I was kind of bored.
Yeah.
For the first 15 of it, and the reason why is not because I wasn't into. The reason why is because when a fight is too one-sided and the guy doesn't look like he's even trying,
right?
It's hard to get into. This is something that actually happened with the fake Karakura-tan arc.
Right.
When Aizen fought everyone, like he was beating the shit out of everyone, right? It was really hard to get into that fight because he didn't look like he was trying. So why should we be invested if we not only know how it's going to end, but it doesn't even look like we're not be able to relate to anything on an emotional to relate to him on an emotional level. Like, oh, this is where he's getting cocky. This is where he's getting shocked or surprised.
Yeah.
No, he's just walking through everyone, not caring at all. So if he doesn't care, why should we care?
Mm,
So that's why I thought it was boring until the last part where I actually kind of knew. I didn't know, but I predicted that was going to happen because when I saw Aizen get shocked about his Kyoka because Getsui gets, I was like, no, 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 no. Aizen rarely gets shocked like that.
yeah.
And this is where this is and I watched a lot of just like Unlimited, where you have a lot of situations where it seems as if the guy didn't fall for the illusion trick. Turns out at the end of the episode he did fall for it, and so I was kind of like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that. I think this is where it happened. I think this is where Aizen kind of actually did use the illusion, and that's what happened. So I was like, I wasn't completely shocked, but I was pleasantly I did enjoy that part. So this is getting bad when you kind of enjoy. I always like it when when a former villain teams up with the good guys and to fight a common enemy. I always like that, no matter
Yeah.
regardless of whatever. This is a really subjective thing on my side, but I always like that. So this is why I remember this chapter in a good light because of what happened. I mean, yeah, the initial fight was boring, but at least some things were happening, and the fighting at the end. I mean, the little trick that Aizen did to Yua was kind of like finally. Jeez, man, now we can have this guy shut the hell up. Probably not, but
What, Aizen or Ewok actually shut the hell up? Neither one's
Yua.
gonna happen.
Well, I mean, at this, I said before in one of my reviews, I kind of missed Aizen because I don't like Yua very much. Like,
Okay.
there was something, I don't know. I felt like Aizen had a lot better build up to him,
Yeah.
because of his history with the Gote 13 and all that. And I just, the Quincy's themselves, I'm very detached from them because they're either really weird or they're just so overpowered. It's just kind of like, and the fact that it just came out of nowhere, it's just hard for me to really look at them the way I did Aizen. So it's really refreshing for me on a subjective level to enjoy Aizen just saying "f you" to Yua.
Yeah.
Because at a point I just got sick of Yua. I got sick of Aizen too, but because we've had a long time from Aizen, so I kind of took a breather from him. So now that he's back, it's kind of like a refreshing type of thing. All right, so that's all I have for this Bleach chapter.
Next, I don't really have anything special to add that you haven't already covered, so we can call that one here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up then. That's been our review then of the Bleach chapters 682 and 683. A whole bunch of gibberish of titles. Go and take us away.
Bye.